But there's another one inside.
Give you an idea of how the length and that how much water we can get in
cool.
if there's an aircraft emergency or.
So Brian, I don't know if you got into it, and I didn't want to get yet, but basically we have a certain category, right?
Yeah.
We have to meet pilots in land, there's a certain category type of airflow. So I can't remember, are we at 10? 9. And the 9 is for, so the Airbus A380, the largest passenger plane in the world, can land here because we're category 9. If we lost some of our capacity, so maybe one of the trucks is broken or something, that would drop our category down. And as we drop down in categories, certain planes can't land here anymore.
I believe it's anywhere on the airfield. You got to get there. So between our hall and the North Hall, you have to get anywhere on this airport with these trucks in 3 minutes. So that's part of our certification. Like Russ was saying, having a big aircraft like a 380 and that in here, we need a certain amount of water to be able to respond, to be able to deal with that situation. I mean, it could be, yeah, well, it could be, you know, so it's basically protecting the truck for any fire or fuel that's coming our way. So, yeah. So
thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Any last questions?
I have one. I'm just curious for the heat. Is the glass protected in any way for certain temperatures of heat?
Yeah, I'm not sure exact temperature. This truck is definitely retrofitted for high heat temperatures. Cam was doing the kind of fog pattern. That's something that'll definitely protect us. In the event, yeah, we don't want to be that close that, you know, things are starting to melt on us. We got to get out of there. So yeah. So I mean, the main goal always with aircraft rescue is people. So although we love to save the aircraft, our number one goal is to get the people off. So we're going to set a rescue path where the egress or the exits are, and try to give people a good opportunity to get out of that situation.
The lesson for you is to always know where those exits are, so pay attention to the flight attendants during your flight.
99% of the people go in or go back out the way they try to come in. So even though there's exits all along the way, everybody's trying, and it's the same thing at a bar or a restaurant. If there's a fire in there, everybody wants to go in the same way they came in, because they have that in their mind, right? So when you're flying, and yeah, take a look at the different egress, and chutes can be deployed at all of them, right? So.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We're not getting back on the bus. We got another surprise.
All right.
Randy's going to talk to you. You're not going anywhere today. You're just stuck out here. So this is Randy. He works with our wildlife contractor, and he's been sitting around waiting for you guys. But he's actually got the task. He's got 2 colleagues with him today. And they're responsible from 1 hour before sunrise till 1 hour after sunset every day of the year to ensure that the birds don't get in through the engines of the airplane. And so he's going to tell you how he does that.
Hello, everybody. First tour here at Pearson.
Yep.
We got something cool to show you today. So this is Maverick. He is my work Harris hawk. And we use Maverick and all of his friends to control and scare away birds here at Pearson. So we have probably 20 different Harris hawks along with a couple falcons and one bald eagle that we use here at Pearson. So Maverick is a Harris hawk, that's his species, and he's a South American hawk. So you can find, sometimes you'll find them in Texas, but predominantly in South America, Chile, where it's sand, deserts. The cool part about Maverick and his species is they actually live in groups. So where most predatory animals, birds specifically, live singular most of their life until they mate and they hang out and they leave, Harris hawks will actually live in groups of 2 to 6, and they will hunt together in groups. So you don't see that too often with the bird species. It's very much fend for themselves, lifestyle, and so on. He's a little nervous. But he's quite friendly. So Maverick is, he's a male. He's about 14 years old. I haven't been with the company for 14 years, so I can't prove that he actually is 14. That's what I'm told. And he weighs 650 grams. So I don't know how to translate it into pounds, if it's even possible, but it's not very heavy.
How did he get here? Did he take a plane from South America and was like, I want to go here?
Maybe. No, we, at some point in time, the company would have purchased a couple Harris hawks and would have bred them, and then we breed all of our own birds.
Oh, okay.
So it makes it a lot easier for us because we don't have to worry about taking birds from the wild and stuff like that. You know, you buy a couple and you're done with taking things from the wild. So everything that we have, we've bred, except maybe the exclusion of the bald eagle. Pretty big bird. We only have one. His name's Ivan. Yeah, so we have a shop here at Pearson up at the north end. I don't know if we get up that way today or but we have 3 different mews that we keep the birds in. We keep them all tied up and separated. Because as much as the Harris hawks are a cohabitable bird with other Harris hawks, that's something we want to put to test with our work birds. So they're all tied up on their own like custom perches. Like it's all, we try to simulate it as natural as possible. It feels like a stick and all that stuff. And then we also keep the falcons with them in the same mew. So the falcons and the hawks, they don't get along no matter how well trained they are. It's just not, it's never going to happen. And then Ivan is also kept separately. He's kept in a much larger coop and he's kept untied. Sometimes he's tied up, it depends on the day. But the tying them up is not, so it's not to restrict the bird, it's just to keep it from getting hurt. If it can't fly around and it's probably going to want to try and get out. So keeping them tied up keeps them safe. That's why he's tied up to my hand. He can't fly away, even though he probably wants to. There we do a simple, it's called a falconer's knot. It's kind of hard to show, but I will try. So he's tied up with my hand with his jesses, that's what's around his feet. Some leather grommets you've cut a hole into. So you put the loose end of the, it's called a leash. Called a rope, doesn't really matter. It's called a leash. So it's kind of, you put it through the loop like that. 2 fingers behind it, over top, underneath. You make a loop. You bring the tail end back through the loop. You make another loop. You take the tail end again through this loop. And you pull it and lock it. And now if I let go of Maverick, of course he won't do it. He can't fly away. this knot is kind of a slip knot. So he's going to pull and pull and pull and pull, and it's not going to go anywhere. The best part about this knot, which is the reason why we use it, is I can tie it with one hand. And I can untie it with one hand. Because obviously your other hand will preoccupy it. And it's undone. So when they're tied up in our mew, we tie the knot twice. In case the bird has enough patience to figure it out, he's got to figure it out twice.
Wow.
So it hasn't happened, but it's just it's a safety measure. If you, let's say you forget to tie the knot correctly in one of the knots, and the other knot's good, it's a fail-safe. But obviously right now I'm not really too worried about him taking off. I've got a hold of his jesses, and one's through my thumb, and he doesn't seem to really care.
What does he do here?
Scares birds away. So it's a natural method. So instead of using firecrackers or air horns, you can use a predator. Something that the birds are naturally afraid of and will naturally run away, fly away, sorry.
So you let them fly and then they come back?
Yeah, so we'll drive along. He always sits back here with me in the truck. And as I'm driving, I'll put the window down. Maverick will fly out of the truck, scare away the bird, the rabbit, the squirrel, fly back into the truck, and then we continue on with our day.
Wait, he can fly into the truck while you're driving it?
Yep.
Wow,
Yep.
that's cool.
So sometimes he won't always. Sometimes he'll fly back up to here, and then fly back into the truck. But he is trained to fly into the truck. So training the bird takes about 6 months, roughly. Every bird's a little bit different, kind of like training your dog or your cat. But we train them truck to truck. So they get used to flying into the truck, flying back to the other truck, back to the other truck. We're putting food in the food slot, so they get a reward every time they do it.
Oh.
And then they learn, hey, if I fly back to the truck, I get a reward. And then eventually you'll fly them onto a piece of leather that looks like a bird. It's just a way of getting him to fly to the ground and then to scare stuff away. And then he comes back to the truck and he gets a piece of meat. So we feed them quail. In a restaurant, it'd be Cornish game hen, but it's quail. It's farm raised quail. We feed them. It's the most nutritious bird you could feed a hawk, or a falcon, or an eagle. It just has all the important nutrients that the bird needs and has. And then we also give them vitamins. When they start to drop their feathers and they're molting, we'll up their vitamin dosage. We'll give them a bit more food, some feathers, and that'll help all their feathers regrow in nice and properly. If the feather doesn't regrow, they could be okay with losing 1 or 2 feathers, and they'll be fine. They have a lot. But if they don't grow back those primaries, they can't fly. So we will save, when they drop a feather, we'll save the feather, and we can actually implant an old feather into where a new feather hasn't grown. And then it'll work as a primary, and then the next year when it grows again, we'll just drop that old feather and hopefully regrow it. Yeah, it's surgery for a bird, but we just put a little pin into the old feather, we stick it into where the new feather hasn't grown, and it usually works. It doesn't grow to the old feather, it just stays there. It just, don't really know how it works so well, but it's amputation of feathers for hawks.
How old do these hawks get?
So Maverick's 14. We have a male named Marky. He's 19 and he's retired.
Okay.
So he just hangs out
Yeah.
every day and chills, relaxes. The captive life, it depends.
Okay.
And they're still susceptible to diseases like West
Yeah.
Nile because they're kept outside. So, he could have a short life, he could have a long life, he could, it's hard to say, but
Yeah.
19 years is a prime, he's alive and well.
How early can they start working? At what age?
It all depends on training, but it's about a year we'll get the bird, year and a half,
Okay.
and then training starts from there. But it all depends.
good, like 15-year service life.
Oh yeah, at least, yeah. Yeah. Our bald eagle's 13, and a bald eagle's lifespan is about 33 years.
Oh wow.
They probably won't work for 33 years.
Yeah.
They probably will get retirement.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they have quite a relatively long lifespan. It's kind of like dog years.
Yeah.
They have bird years.
So what's something flying is bad?
This guy? I don't put him near one. No, we don't put our birds on active runways just out of nowhere. I don't have my speaker on right now because there's another gentleman down south. But we're always listening to the ground and tower frequencies, monitoring pilots' chatter to see if they're reporting birds. And if I hear a pilot say, "Hey tower, there's a bunch of birds on the approach of 24 right," well, now it's my job. I got to go scare those birds away. And we do have pyrotechnics because Maverick is a hawk, so his style of hunting is ambush, not in-flight height tacks. So we'll use. Pardon? To the Falcons. Yeah, exactly. No, not today. Not unless I get lucky. If you guys are here and I let him out of the truck. To come back to the truck?
Yeah.
No, he just flies back. Yeah, it's just a lot of training.
There is a piece of
There's a piece of meat in there, and it's just training. It's just like you're training your dog. Sit. You just wait till he sits. Wait till he sits. When you're training the bird, you'll hold Maverick back here. There'll be another gentleman or someone in the truck. They'll put a piece of meat, and I'll just hold Maverick like this, and it'll fly into the truck. And then tomorrow, I go 20 feet. The day after that, you go 30 feet, and just hope he flies back to the truck. In the training process, we'd have a GPS on their foot. That way, if they did take off, we can track them and try to get them back. He doesn't wear one now because he's trained, and he's not going to take off, hopefully. He still could, but he hasn't yet. Some of our Falcon, we always fly a Falcon with a GPS because they're flying high, they're soaring, they're going out a couple hundred meters, like they're in mid-flight. Well, we don't fly them near the runways. Okay. Yeah, no, we don't. Well, I don't want to lose our birds, and we also don't want to hit the planes. So if we fly Falcon, it's could be over here by one of the maintenance facilities, which is away from the runway. Most of our Falcon flying is done up at the north end of the airport. There's a lot more open fields, a lot more area, and but it does the same trick. If I'm close enough to the runway to scare the birds away, but I'm far enough away to not put my bird in any harm. But if a small bird sees a falcon or a hawk, they're gone.
Is it true that most of the time you don't feed the dummies and the other ones that some of the schools they don't hunt properly, or are there some methods?
No, it's partially correct. So each bird has a working weight or flight weight or hunting weight, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And Maverick's weight is 650.
Okay.
So it'll hold Maverick for one day. I feed him 50 grams of quail. So I'm in today and tomorrow, so he's only going to get 50. But when I leave on Sunday, I can give him 100 grams, and he'll be good for 2 days.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a snake. You know, they eat a mouse, and then they're good for a couple days. Similar process with birds, because they have what's called a crop. So when they eat something, it'll go into the crop, and then as they need it, they'll take it from the crop into the stomach. So he'll right below his, right about here, it will fill up. It'll look like he has a big ball in his chest. That's his crop. And then slowly, he'll take the food from the crop as he needs it, and that'll keep him. So when I come back in, he'll be hungry, because all the 50 grams, the 100 grams will be out of his system. So you're partially correct, but they don't go to that point where they're starving. He goes to that weight where he's comfortable hunting at. But it all changes. So in the summer, well, I guess it's still summer, but in the heat of summer, he's about 630. So I'll drop his weight 20 grams because it's hotter, and they burn less in the summer. Where in the winter, because it's colder, he needs to be a little bit heavier, a little bit fatter, so he can stay healthy, he can stay warm. So the weights always change with birds. The Maverick 650, one of our females. So in the predator of the bird species, the females are always bigger. So our female Harris hawk, our biggest female Harris hawk is 960 grams. So quite a bit bigger than Maverick. But visually Valerie's a lot bigger, but the weight speaks the difference.
How do you know if you didn't eat some mouse or something from outside?
Like at the shop or out of the truck?
Like when he's catching birds, like
Well, because I'll go get him. So if he does get lucky enough to get something, I'll park the truck, I'll get out, I'll pick him up, put him back in my glove. Like if he has lucky enough to get something, I can still pick him up and touch him and pet him, and I'll help him eat the food if I want to let him eat it. So if he does get lucky enough, I will let him eat it. That's a reward. It's like, great, you did, that's what you're supposed to do in the wild, but that's not the goal.
But then you don't feed him.
But then, yeah, exactly. So if he gets a small bird, that's good enough. So he's done for the day, he'll eat it, and then the next day we'll check his weight, and then we'll monitor if he needs more food.
How many birds do you have?
30 to 40, depending on how many we have.
but some of them are retired though, right?
Well, yeah, we have two retired ones. We have the Ivan. The bald eagle isn't flown from the trucks, and neither are the falcons. Ivan is driven to a location in the back of the truck and then taken out and then flown. And the falcons are the same way, but the falcons are flown from the fist. You don't hold Ivan to let him fly. You just kind of let him go. It's a big bird, big talons, big beak. He bit my face a while ago. He's well, no matter how far you hold him, he can still reach you. He's about 3 feet, so I mean that's not. And then he has a leash too. It's long, so he's got some reach when he's on the hand. The company has, no, I have not. So we just use hawks, eagles, and falcons. Owls are great predators as well.
Just one eagle.
Just one eagle, yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
All right, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. We're going to get back on the bus and continue.
Yeah,
this
just
work.
up. We have a building up at the north end of the airport.
But, thank you, greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
don't run off.
Abba, Ethiopian left.
Just now?
2 minutes, 3 minutes ago.
I didn't see that.
She's gone. Still.